And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
And if we're talking tight ends and we're going into round 2, maybe round 3, give me Ian Thomas, please. Let's just do the damn thing.
Just based on giving his overall ability. Again, I like his arm. I think he can make every throw.
The pick at number 12 is in.
Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast. With me for the first time in forever, Brad Kelly. Brad, my man, how we doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a while, long time, but happy to be spending this week with you and ready for some recording.
Yeah. Hopefully this is recording. I don't know. This isn't my actual mic. I think it's doing fine. Just don't look at the blue light. This is incredibly bright. So let's talk receivers. First day of the Senior Bowl. We've had the North roster and the South roster do their thing. Let's start with the South roster since they were up first. Cincinnati Bengals coaching staff. I mean, the one guy that stood out to me, obviously, was Van Jefferson. I've been hyping him up the entire time going into this week. I think he's going to have a great week. What were your thoughts on Van Jefferson out of Florida?
Yeah, I thought he had excellent practice. You got to the one-on-ones, the one-on-one periods, which for wide receivers and defensive backs, that's the big evaluation period, right? That's the biggest 10 minutes of their day, and he got open at will. The only time we had one pass broken up, the other 3 reps he separated very easily. He got into 7-on-7s. He was eating. I mean, he ran probably like 3 or 4 curl routes. All of them complete, all of them him catching the ball, getting upfield. I mean, gains of 10 to 15 chunk plays on really one route that defense could not stop. I mean, he's going to be a guy who I think as the week goes on, as his career goes on, is going to be that intermediate, chain-moving possession receiver for a team and stick around in the league for a long time.
Yeah, and the South roster had, obviously other guys. Devin Duvernay, Collin Johnson, 2 Texas guys. From a statistical standpoint, Duvernay had over 100 receptions, probably more of that slot build receiver with that strong lower body as it looks, pretty thick, But Collin Johnson, 6'4", 6'5", 220 pounds. What were your takes on both of those guys today?
Yeah, I think Johnson had a good day all the way from the weigh-in, where I believe he was a little over 6'5", and like you said, close to 220 pounds, which is a really good weight for him. He carries it very well. And then onto the field, I thought he had an excellent day. This is a guy who, early on in his career, he had the length, he had the size, and we all knew that the potential was there because he's a good athlete. And as he's progressed in his career, I think he's gotten a lot better with his stems, and I think he's gotten better at the break point. And I think today was kind of a microcosm of that. He had a few reps where he was separating because of his stem. He was getting rid of contact. He was separating at the breaks. And I think in particular, like I said, those one-on-one periods, he looked excellent. I would probably say Jefferson and Johnson are probably in a class of their own when it comes to that group of receivers today. And then Duvernay, I think, had a pretty solid day, a little bit up and down. Uncharacteristically had a drop in 7-on-7. Only took a couple reps of one-on-ones. Looked good in the drills. Looked good in team period. And I think he's shown so much on tape that it's just he's a pretty easy projection whether he has an up and down week or not. I mean, you have over 100 catches, catch everything, barely like 1 drop on the year, 2 drops, something like that. He is as they call clear packaging as a prospect. We know what we're going to get from Devin Duvernay.
For sure. And again, I don't think this was going to be an event that really boosted him up into the first round. I don't think that was going to ever really be in the conversation. Maybe it solidifies him as a top 75 guy. We'll see. Tomorrow's another day for the South roster, but moving to the North roster, the Detroit Lions, all we did was stretch, so I don't know what we can really do out of that, but that's been the joke going around on Twitter, how much stretching the Lions have done. So, the North roster, tons of great receivers on there. Denzel Mims, one of your guys out of Baylor. Who were some guys that really stood out there?
Yeah, I think the North roster has a stronger group of receivers. The South roster has 2 of the guys, Austin Mack and Tyree Cleveland, who are late additions because guys dropped out. Not that they're completely like schlubs or anything, but they're late additions for a reason. I think the North roster is pretty much strong across the board. So a more competitive group. Also, I think probably a better group of I don't want to say better group of quarterbacks, but realistically for these guys, a better group of quarterbacks. So they had a little bit more success in one-on-ones. K.J. Hill and Denzel Mims, I think, both had really, really good days. K.J. Hill was 3 for 3 in one-on-ones. I mean, getting open at will. And on top of that, they did a press coverage period where he was getting off press coverage pretty much at ease, which for him, as a guy who played primarily in the slot at Ohio State, is really good to see. I think his translation to the outside is going to be pretty easy based on what we saw today. And like you said, Denzel Mims had a big day in the one-on-ones, had a few big catches, 3 catches, I think only 1 incompletion on an overthrown deep ball. And Antonio Gandy Golden flash on another deep ball out of Liberty, big guy, great size, really broad frame. And that was a big play for him, and it was to kick off the one-on-one period, which is also like a really cool thing to see. Let's get going. Let's go throw a deep ball. Let's score a touchdown.
Yeah, well, and we didn't have just wide receivers going against air either. I mean, they were going up against defensive backs. Were there any defensive backs that stood out to you? For me, it was Troy Pride out of Notre Dame. I mean, he was very physical. He was very good in press man. So I thought he did really well. Was there somebody that caught your eye out of all the receivers you watched today?
Yeah, Troy Pride during the North practice, I think, was probably the best coverage defensive back. During the South practice, Dane Jackson out of Pittsburgh, corner, was a little bit lighter and shorter than I anticipated him based on what we saw on film. But he had 3 pass breakups in the one-on-one period alone. And 2 of them were against Devin Duvernay. So a guy is tough to cover. And he was pretty much right in their hip. He got kind of turned around by Collin Johnson on one rep when he was playing in off man. But whenever he was in press near the line of scrimmage, closing down in space, I know he's a little undersized, so it's not great projection, but he was really effective in that role today. And if he's able to do that consistently throughout the week, I mean, you got a guy who maybe could be an NFL starter.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And so, I mean, we've got tomorrow's practice. Are you going to be watching receivers again? Are you going to be looking at another positional group? What exactly are you going to be doing? And if you go back to receivers, what exactly are you going to be looking for on day 2?
Yeah, I'll be watching the receivers all week. The film room is for the other positions for me, but live watches, I'm watching the wideouts. A few things I'll be looking for. One, Tyree Cleveland, the late addition from Florida, had a couple deep balls that he caught today. Was a little bit inconsistent other than that, but if he can keep doing that, that's going to definitely help his projection. And then looking at the North squad, Courtney Davis looked pretty good running routes today. But was the quarterback was missing him. They weren't on time. Kind of happens on day 1. I think day 2, if he's able to separate like he was today, again, he should see some more receptions. And then a few other guys like Chase Claypool I would like to mention because kind of the same thing with him. He was a little iffy. It might have been some poor timing. And then I also want to see if these guys like K.J. Hill and Van Jefferson just keep it going. If they keep it going all week, they're going to be the buzz of the whole event.
For sure. Well, tons of content coming our way or coming your way from cover1.net. Of course, you guys can subscribe to the podcast at Cover One NFL Draft Podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, wherever you go about getting your podcast. You, of course, can get the Cover One app. But what kind of content do you have coming tonight, tomorrow, throughout the week?
So tonight's going to be a recap of all the receivers, the standouts, kind of what we covered today with a lot of video clips in there of the evidence of the one-on-one reps. I took a video of every single one-on-one rep that happened between the receivers and DBs today. So there's a bunch of clips in there, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And then throughout the week, it's just going to be same thing. When we focus on receivers, DBs who had big weeks, whose stock is up, stock is down, and all that type of stuff. So. Should be fun. I'm going to try to. There's going to be content out every day.
Yeah, and it's already been pouring out. We've got all kinds of stuff from the measurements. So if you haven't been up to date on what the height and weight of a guy is, go ahead and check out the measurements that we have on cover1.net. Kristian Page, CP, who's downstairs currently working, he put together a great tool for everybody to use. It's very clean, very crisp. So where can we follow you on Twitter, all the social media, all that good stuff?
At Brad Kelly 17, KELLY 17, and read everything that's posted on cover1.net. You'll be a better football fan for it.
Why can't we just get rid of the other Brad Kelly and give you that at? Why can't we do that?
This guy's had his Twitter. He probably beat me by like a day, right? And he was not active for years, and I kept checking up on him, trying to get rid of him at Brad Kelly, but he became active again, and he told me he would sell it to me for like $3,000 or something like that, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. That's ridiculous. But either way, so Brad, thank you for taking the time, my man. talking receivers, all that good stuff. I'm sure I'll have you on again later this week. So we've got tons of other stuff. I'm going to piece together a Jonah Tuls interview that I had from earlier today in between the North and South Media Day portion of everything. We talked plenty of defensive backs to kind of piggyback to what Brad was saying with the wide receivers. So you guys will enjoy that with Jonah from the Draft Network. All right, Cover One NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Russell Brown. Joining me, Jonah, how do I say your last name?
Tuls.
Tuls. Dude, I say Tools all the time.
Yeah,
my bad.
It's like Tulsa, Oklahoma. Take out the A.
All right, Jonah Tuls from the Draft Network. Jonah, we're down here at the Senior Bowl. We just spoke with the South team. We're going to be talking to the North team here in a few minutes. But what are some of your takeaways, just the guys that you interviewed from the South team so far?
Yeah, this is just my favorite part of the Senior Bowl because, we get to watch the tape. We get to watch them play. We don't always get to hear their personal background, their story, kind of hear their why of why they love this game. So I love talking to each and every one of these players, figure out their why, figure out their purpose and why they play the game. Yeah. So that's my favorite part of this whole Media Day Senior Bowl circuit is talking to them personally and getting to know their why.
Right, and you're like a defensive back guy. I mean, that's like your position. Everything that you write up, dude, I'm studying. I'm like, okay, you're the first one to bring me on to Jeff Gladney, right, from TCU. Disappointed he's not here, but we'll start there. I think he could have had a big week being here. Even though he's not here, where do you think he falls? I know it's still early in the process, but where do you think he ultimately falls in the draft?
Well, the cornerback class always really stretches, right? Every year, there's a lot of corners who go a little later than we think they do because it's a really deep class year after year. I still think he's a top 50 guy. I mean, he's going to run somewhere 4.3, 4.4 at the combine. He's going to jump really well. I mean, production speaks for itself. 4-year starter, durable, great ball skills, great ball production. This is a guy who's just going to, I think he's going to test through the roof, and I think teams are going to love his production. So, to me, Jeff Gladney is still a top 50 pick.
I'm with you there. I've got him 33rd on my board, my first one of the season. I think at times he kind of has too much of a forward lean, maybe a technique issue that needs to be fixed up. But as we get ready for the North roster rolling in here, who are some guys that you were kind of expecting from the North roster, especially for the Detroit Lions?
Oh man, I love Jeremy Chin. I got to tell you, sub-package linebacker, strong safety, I think he fits that mold perfectly. Yeah. 6'3", 220, chiseled, looks like a Greek god. I'm telling you, this is a guy that I'm all about. I think he's going to be a bona fide stud at the next level. Won't be drafted till the 3rd, 4th round, but if you're looking for that safety linebacker hybrid at the next level, Jeremy Chin from Southern Illinois, check him out.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get some of your thoughts, obviously, after first day of practice, second day of practice, all that stuff. And then I have to settle the debate. Jeff Okudah, Kristian Fulton, which guy do you like and why?
Jeff Okudah. The reason why I like Okudah more, I have not seen a player with his physical traits play the game with as little experience as he has. Yeah. In my time of scouting, this is a guy that I think is the most talented cornerback I've watched since Patrick Peterson.
Wow.
I mean, you just look at his speed, his length, his man coverage ability. Then he put up the ball skills and ball production this year. I really don't think there's a weakness in his game. I think he's a physical dude. I think he's going to go top 5 in this draft. I don't think anyone would bat an eye.
Absolutely. Well, Jonah, where can we find your content? Where can we follow you on Twitter, social media, all that stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me at Jonah Tuls NFL. You can find all my work at the Draft Network, and hopefully you all sign up for premium. $9.99 monthly, $29.99 yearly. So if you want the best content over at TDN, make sure you sign up for TDN Premium as well.
Appreciate it, man. Tons of great stuff. You guys, of course, can follow me on Twitter at RussNFLDraft. Remember to find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Cover One NFL Draft. But until next time, this is Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast.